In 2024, Bryson DeChambeau hit a golf ball 411 yards in Mexico City. It is our goal today to hit it further than that. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey, we're headed up the mountain, and I'm trying to just get a decent idea how far we need to go on altitude to calculate a 411 yard drive with a golf ball. Can you estimate what kind of ball speed we need to hit 411 yards at 10,700 feet? And then what kind of launch angle and how much RPM? So we have an idea if 10,700 feet is high enough.
For a 411-yard drive at 10,700 feet, you'd need a ball speed of around 170 miles per hour, a launch angle of about 10 to 12 degrees, and a spin rate of around 2,000 to 2,500 RPM. That altitude should be high enough, but the thinner air might give you a bit more distance.
All right. I just decided to come up behind the backyard and we're going to hit off a mountain. This is a guarantee to drive it further than Bryson DeChambeau. And when I looked at his longest drive on tour this year, it was 411 yards. So I can't go any further just because there's too much snow. But we're at about 10,300 feet. And I'm going to flip the camera around here in a second. You're going to see how far the descent is, which is pretty far. My boys, which are behind me, trying to keep their faces out of the view. I don't really want them on camera. But ultimately, they're have drive, putt, and chip tomorrow. So we're going to build some confidence and hit some balls a really, really long way. And then we're going to have some hiking to go find them. Okay, so now you can see where we're at. You can't quite see or get an idea of what this cliff looks like. But the grade is about, it goes between 30 and 50%. So it's pretty steep grade. So the goal here is if we can get the optimal conditions, like we have a little bit of wind into us, but if I can hit a driver, I'm pretty sure I can hit it over 411 yards and break DeChambeau's record for the year. Let's see how it goes. Okay, I've got a few tools to get this done. One, you can see here, I'm pulling my Garmin R50 out. I'm going to use this. And the reason we need this is if we can calculate, it'll give me my swing speed, it'll give me my ball speed, it'll give the launch angle, it should give my RPM. From that, I can calculate it based on the grade. And I used Google Earth to give us a really good idea. And I'll kind of walk you through those calculations here in a second. But what it'll do is I'll plug it in after each shot, and it should tell us how far we've hit it. Because ultimately on its own, I can't probably hit it 411 yards if it's horizontal, even at 10,300 feet. I might be able to get close, but I'm guessing, I'm going to ask before we get going what it would take to hit it on horizontal ground, 411 yards at 10,300 feet. I'm guessing 200 and maybe 200 ball speed is my guess, and a launch angle of around 15 degrees and a spin rate of around 2,000 RPM. One thing that happens at altitude, and unfortunately my driver, I have the TaylorMade QI 35 here. And one thing about the QI 35 is I have it set up to spin at about 3,000 RPMs. And the reason I do that is, one, at altitude, it stays in the air a little bit longer and it can fly straighter. I'm not super accurate with the T-ball, and this really, really helps me. And it's funny too, because like guys will make fun of me. I'll hit my 5-wood nearly as far as my driver. I don't know why that is. It's not still, we still have a 25-yard gap, but my 5-wood goes so far because I have it set up to spin really well and I can hit it a lot straighter. Whereas my driver, it just gets a little erratic once I get around 2,000 RPM at this altitude. So here we go. Let's get started. All right, you can see here, I've got my session about to start. Unfortunately, the elevation on the Garmin R50 caps us at 10,179 feet. We are above that, It's not going to make a difference for our purpose, but it is kind of cool just to see the data as we go here. And it looks like the relative humidity is about accurate. It's a little high today, especially for Colorado, but it's really, really warm at this altitude. This ball is going to fly. All right, we have our Starlink out here. That'll keep us updated and allow us to use some AI to get our data. Obviously the Garmin R10, and then you can see this is our tee-off area. I think I'll probably have my kids go first. I'll back up far enough that, or at least not seeing their faces, but we can see how far they go. And then we're gonna measure like their longest record. Caden, what's your record ball speed?
My record ball speed is probably
103. And how far does that usually go?
170.
170 yards. Okay, so his goal is to beat 170 yards. All right, Weston, how about you? What's your record ball speed?
93.
93. And then how far is your longest drive?
156.
156. Okay, so that's the goal. We're going to beat those, and we're going to see how that goes. I'm pretty excited to see how far these boys can hit it. All right, we're about to get started, but I need some help from Grok. So here we go. Grok, we're trying to figure out, we're sitting at 10,701 feet elevation. The bottom of this hill we're hitting over is 8,300 some odd feet, about 350 feet. We're trying to determine the percentage of grade that it does on average. It's about a mile to the bottom. So what kind of grade are we looking at, and what other information do you need to calculate how far we hit it?
To find the average grade, divide the elevation drop by the horizontal distance. Here, that's a drop of 2,401 feet over 1 mile, which is 5,280 feet. That gives us about a 45% grade. For how far you hit it, I'd need to know more, like what you mean by hit, and maybe your starting speed or the hill's specific shape. Does that clarify things, or should we dig into the hitting part?
Yeah, let's talk about hitting for a second. We're gonna so I have enough information to tell you a launch angle for a golf ball, the ball speed. I also have the launch angle and any other information that you need that will determine how far this golf ball goes.
Great, with the launch angle and ball speed, you've got the basics. I'd also need to know the air density at 10,701 feet, which affects drag, and maybe the golf ball's drag coefficient. Spin rate could help too, if you have it. That should give us a solid estimate of how far the ball will travel. Does that cover everything, or is there another factor you're thinking about?
No, that should cover everything. So I do have ball speed. We can let you know that. I'll give you ball, or I'm sorry, not ball speed, but ball spin. And then also for drag, we're at 64% humidity right now. Is there a way that you can calculate air density from that particular measurement?
Yeah, we can estimate air density from humidity, but I'll also need the temperature and air pressure at 10,701 feet. Humidity at 64% affects how much moisture is in the air, which slightly changes density. If you can get those other two, I can plug them into a formula to figure it out. Does that sound doable, or should we look up typical values for this elevation?
Yeah, let's look up typical values. All I have is the temperature, which is also 64 degrees. So we're sitting at 64 degrees air temp and 64% relative humidity. And we're at 10,701 feet of altitude.
With 64 degrees Fahrenheit and 64% humidity at 10,701 feet, typical air pressure there is around 11.6 pounds per square inch. Using that, the air density comes out to about 0.07 pounds per cubic foot. That should help calculate how far your golf ball will go, factoring in the thinner air up there. Does that align with what you needed? Numbers can be tricky at altitude.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think if you can retain that information, what we'll do is I'll swing, give you some of the data you need, and then you tell us how far the golf ball goes in yards. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me. Just give me the launch angle, ball speed, and spin rate whenever you're ready, and I'll calculate the distance in yards. I'll hold on to the air density and other stuff we figured out. Ready when you are.
Beautiful. We're going to get started.
Launch of
Beautiful.
12.4 degrees and spin rate of 4,124 RPM at 10,701 feet elevation, 45% downhill slope, and 0.07 pounds air density. I estimate the carry distance to be around 160 yards. With a 45% downhill slope, rollout could add an extra 20 to 30 yards, so the total distance, including rollout, might be around 180 to 190 yards.
So I totally think that number is off. So we're going to go again. I'm going to try to recalculate with Grok and let's see how it goes. Yeah.
All right. With a ball speed of 84.4, a launch angle of 16.7, and a spin rate of 2,879 at an altitude of 10,701 feet, air density of 0.07 pounds, and a 45% downhill slope, the golf ball should travel around 290 yards. How's that sound?
So far, our AI is all over the board, Bubba. So now I need to start over to kind of figure out and see what we need to do to get the right data. You're ready. Big long swing.
With a ball speed of 90.3 miles per hour, a launch of 8.1 degrees, and a spin rate of 2,879 RPM at an altitude of 10,701 feet, air density of 0.07 pounds, and a 45% downhill slope, the golf ball should travel about 240 yards. Does that work for you?
All right, to me, this seems incredibly accurate, especially with it rolling downhill. It's not going to stop for a long period of time. This is much more on target.
With a ball speed of 86 miles per hour, launch of 13.6 degrees, and spin rate of 4,200 RPM, factoring in that 10,701 feet altitude, 0.07 pounds air density, and 45% cliff, you're looking at a carry of about 250 yards and a rollout that could add another 40 to 50 yards, so total around 290 to 300 yards. Sound right?
Okay, since the drive really matters, I've got to beat 411 yards. I'm going into deep think on AI to get some answers.
Your ball speed is 161, your launch is 14.3, and your spin rate is 1,501 RPM. I estimate the yardage at 415 yards. With a ball speed of 168.9, a launch angle of 12.7, and a spin rate of 2,400 RPM at 10,701 feet elevation, over a 45% downhill slope, and with that air pressure of 0.07 pounds, I estimate the total distance to be around 450 yards.
Well, I hate to say goodbye to this place, as you can see. Although it is in my backyard, it's just enough of a drive in. One of my greatest mountain bike trails is just up that hill. Might be able to see it up there. It's such a descent. About 6,000 feet downhill, all said and done, about 2,000 feet of climbing along the way. In the distance, just to give you a frame of reference, on the other side of that hill is Aspen. And then over that way, you can't see it, but Vale is right there. Kind of as the crow flies, we're almost directly in the middle of them. Okay, that was really fun. We're home now. And one of the things that I learned from doing that is really hard to do the AI stuff up there. It doesn't, the audio portion of Grok doesn't recall your conversation. So there's in between time that doesn't go really well, and it only retains it for a certain period of time. Whereas if it's written word, it's remembered forever, where it's fantastic. But I kind of wanted it to have a conversation with me, so it didn't work real well. But having said that, it was just fun to come up here and do this. I think by the end, especially once I did deep think, we had accurate yardage with 415 yards and 450 yards. Now, obviously, I think that because I really wanted to beat Bryson. So I'm pretty sure that was awesome, and it was celebrating, and my boys had a freaking good time doing it, and I can't wait to do it again. I really appreciate you joining us. Please subscribe. Talk to you again soon.
The Colorado Rocky Mountain High.